The power of the Buddha's primal vow is such that those who hearing the name aspire for birth all reach that land, and their attainment of non-retrogression comes about of itself. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the long sutra chanting. It's called the Amida Kyo. We went right through the whole entire thing, so it's something that we do usually for the Obon services. So thank you very much for your patience. I'd like to kind of get right into it because I do not have too much time, but I'd like to give you the gist of the message today. And it is the importance of hearing, or what we call in Japanese, kiku or chomon. It's written in a special way with the mimi heng and toku with virtue, okay? And that's the way we listen to the Buddha Dharma. So if you had to boil it down in one word, I think one of the ways to do it is that Buddhism is to hear. Buddhism is to hear. And so you might be thinking, what are we hearing? What we hear, well, the answer to that is that we hear the calling voice of true reality, a reality that embraces all beings. Okay, well, that's nice, you might think, but hopefully I'll show you how this plays out as we move along in the conversation. So the next question is, what do we hear with? And it is here that I would like to ask you to kind of close your eyes or think about the word hear, as you could picture it in your head, right? H-E-A-R, right? Now, if you tack on the T at the end, that becomes heart, right? And so we hear with our heart's ear, right? And so there's also ear within that word too as well, right? So we hear with our heart's ear. So hearing is the most important issue in Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. And what do we hear? We hear the calling voice of true reality, which we call Amida Buddha. Amida Buddha's great compassion embraces all beings. And how do we hear this voice of true reality? We hear this with our heart's ear. And what we hear is the Onenbutsu, the calling voice of truth. And that is Shinshu in a nutshell. That is Jodo Shinshu, our school of Buddhism in a nutshell. I know it's a little bit harder than that, than what I just explained, but at the beginning of the passage, I read an excerpt from the larger sutra, and it says that those who hear the name of Amida Buddha, or true reality, will attain birth in the Pure Land because they aspire to be born there. So if we put that into everyday language, what that means is that those who listen to the teachings of the Buddha will awaken to the path of truth and eventually go there. And when we are able to hear, we are made to understand that we didn't know from before. So hearing is very crucial in our development. It's like when you're kind of growing up and your parents tell us, all kinds of orders, right? Clean up your room, right? Take out the trash, wash the dishes, right? Do your homework, play nicely with others. Don't sit too closely to the TV, right? Et cetera, et cetera. And then when we go to school, we have to take orders from our teachers, right? Read pages so-and-so for homework, right? You need to study more. I was told that all the time. You need to practice your instrument more, practice your algebra, right? So it seems like we're taking orders from everyone all the time, right? And as we get older, we take orders from our wife. I mean, well, I won't go there, but we have to take orders from other people. We have to take orders from the law, right? We have to take orders from, the IRS, right? Or these things, right? So we have to constantly listen, constantly hear. But if we think about it, over time, as we reflect, we realize that listening to our parents, our teachers, and our significant others, or our mentors, or friends and family, they're barking out these orders, but they were doing so in the hopes that they would help us to become people who are more aware, right? People who are stronger or smarter, etc., right? Well, hopefully at least, right? And I'm not saying that's always the case, but you see what I'm trying to get at, right? It's when we realize that they were really trying to help us become better people in the long run, that we start to see what they were trying to do for us. And then we become appreciative and grow to trust their guidance. But when it comes to our spiritual lives, hearing doesn't come as easily, right? First of all, we're not hearing just with our ears per se. Rather, we have to hear with our hearts. And this takes a long time before we realize that we are being cultivated by the world of truth, by Amida Buddha's working. We are slowly brought to come to hear the voice of absolute truth. But once we are able to hear the calling voice of truth, we entrust ourselves to this truth and are able to respond in gratitude by saying Namo Amida Butsu, right? So Obon, today's the Hatsubon Urabon service. So I want to talk about Obon a little bit. Obon has a religious aspect to it. It's not just about, playing bingo and eating snow cones and kintoki, right? Or eating chicken teriyaki or scoping out the hot girls or the hot guys who came to Obon, right? Well, I just call it like it is, okay? I just call it. So I know that Obon is a fun time, right? I will be the first to admit that, right? So Obon, but at its roots, is supposed to be an event that reflects on our ancestors, right? And those who have gone before us. Isn't that such a beautiful teaching, right? What other time do we do this? Perhaps Memorial Day, but this is a kind of Memorial Day from a Buddhist perspective, right? And when we recall the loss of our loved ones, we are forced to engage with what this life is about. We are forced to think and reflect on the meaning of life. It is very hard to make time for that, especially with everyone's hectic work schedule where we have to worry about paying the bills, right? Taking care of the kids, going grocery shopping, taking the kids to Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, basketball, soccer, right? And, worrying about saving money to buy a house or a car or saving money to send our kids to college, right? We have all these worries, all these concerns, all these goals, all these expectations that we set, all these beefs that we have between each other, right? All these what are called distractions that all keep us from thinking about life in general. All these things preoccupy us and keep us busy. They keep us from seeing the reality of the situation of our state of existence. I'd like to share with you a short segment that I found on YouTube that I think is really touching, and it really touches on the point of the message of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism. This is a video documentary where they ask a few people who are over the age of 100 to give their life perspectives. And I want to focus on one woman in particular who gives such a moving message that fits precisely with Amida Buddha's message of great compassion. This takes place in England, so these people have no connection to Buddhism, right? Probably, right? And they probably don't know the words like Amida Buddha, Onenbutsu, or Pure Land. Yet her explanation is precisely what this teaching is about. And I would like to now show you what that is. Can everybody see this? Yeah. Can everybody hear this?
When I had my first children, I had twins, but unfortunately, I lost the twins, and that was the most tragic moment in my life. But I had a daughter, and I enjoyed her company very much indeed, loved her immensely. When I lost my first baby, it was one of the twins went. I was devastated. Eventually, of course, you get used to it because life goes on regardless. You get healed, and what you never forget. So it's really wonderful to have something left behind, even if they are no longer here. They're there. They're in your mind. They're in your air, all around you. It's really a wonderful, wonderful feeling. I think a lot of my children, even today, after all these years. I can still sit here and I can talk to them and as if they were still alive. When people pass this way, they hear me talking to myself. They think I'm crackers. But I'm not crackers. I'm only just thinking about my children. Any regrets? None. None whatever. I can tell you right from my heart. None whatever.
So that's the segment that I wanted to show you. Hopefully you were able to see that. So what we see here is a person who speaks from the experience of great loss. And I can't even begin to imagine the pain and despair that she had to endure through the years. But she tells us from her own words, through her own experience, she has not lost them. Right? Her children are still there with her. They are right there with her and spend every moment with her. They become the air that she breathes, the food that nourishes her, the water that sustains her, the sun that warms her, and the tree that provides the shade that cools her. They are there with her in her memories and in her heart. And in this sense, they never die. They're always there with her. In every moment, she is constantly spoken to. They are telling her that they love her. They're telling her that they're there with her and telling her that she is okay as she is because she is embraced as she is. They speak to her from the world of oneness, the world of truth, the world of the Pure Land. She continues on to say that she has no regrets in this life, nothing left undone, no feeling of, man, I needed more time, I needed more money, I needed more this or more that, right? Her experience of great loss became her greatest source of strength. And what more can we want in this life? She is thoroughly content with her path, despite the hardships that she had to face. How can we be like that, you might ask? In my eyes, that woman is a bodhisattva, and her children are bodhisattvas to her, right? They teach her about the world of great compassion, the world that connects all of us together. The end of life is tragic and painful, but it is not the end, right? And it certainly does not mean that our bond with them has been severed forever. It has merely undergone a great change. So from a Jodo Shinshu perspective, this woman has tapped into the world of great compassion, the world of absolute truth. And this is what grounds her. It becomes the life source of her spirit to be able to carry on in this life. She becomes ever more grateful, ever more content, ever more at peace, because she is grounded by this world of absolute truth. In Jodo Shinshu, this world of truth is wisdom and compassion, of clarity and warmth. It embraces us just as we are, and all we have to do is awaken to this truth by hearing its calling voice. Truth speaks to us by saying to us, Namo Amida Butsu, hear this truth, listen to this truth. And when we truly receive this teaching, we will naturally put our hands together in Gassho and in deep and humble gratitude respond by saying the name Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you for showing me this world of great compassion that brings me peace and hope to my heart. And with that, I would like to close today's message. Thank you very much for your attention. Please join me in Gassho. The power of the Buddha's primal vow is such that those who, hearing the name, aspire for birth, all reach that land, and their attainment of non-retrogression comes about of itself. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.